professor muttered to herself. She seemed so taken aback that she didn't even hear Salyu's words. We're deep in Salyu's memories this time, learning the truth about Salyu's backstory, which we completely missed the first time we went through this. Holy shit, did we miss it? Soon the professor's PDA rang. She gasped and picked up.
はい、天川です。先ほど私も知覚しました。おそらく特艦何号のテレパシーです。
Uh-oh.
承知よ。そんな早計すぎます。まだテレパシーだけですよ。超過極基準に照らせば。
The professor seemed to be arguing on the phone with someone. Sally waited there for a while, but the call continued for 10, then 20 minutes without any sign of stopping. Some sort of problem happened. Sally didn't understand a thing. Once she had grown bored of waiting, she eventually heard a crowd stirring across the street. Wonder what it is. Sally walked in the direction of the commotion, making sure not to get too far away from the professor. On the other side of the street, there was a car crashed into a streetlight. Apparently there was a motor vehicle accident. A fire engine could be seen approaching from the distance. Then in the midst of the crowd of onlookers, Salyu's eyes fell on someone. That boy is Dr. Tenkawa's son? It should have been the first time she saw him, yet for some reason he looked familiar. Had the professor shown her a picture of him before? Oh. At the time, he too turned Salyu's way. Their eyes met and locked. And just then, arms started violently squeaking like an alarm bell. Oh no, does he see me as hostile? Sally became frightened again and quickly fled. Wow, that's the complete opposite impression of her that we got from Natsuhiko's perspective. And now that we know her as well as we do, we understand why. When she got back to where the professor was, the phone call was just about over.
わかりました。それではそのように。
The professor sighed and hung up. When she noticed Salyu, she spoke to her.
ごめんなさい。待たせたわね。
電話はもういいの？
ちょっと忙しくなりそうだけど、大丈夫よ。心配ないわ。今の電話の件については、今後夏彦に会った時も話さないでちょうだい。
わからないけど、わかった。
ありがとう。とにかく一度ホテルに行きましょう。買い物は後で私がするから。
The professor grasped Salyu's hand and started walking again. Along the way, Salyu asked the professor a question.
ところで博士、先ほどの話だけど。
Crisis averted.
博士の息子を守るという件について、なぜ私にそんな役目を？博士ほどの地位や財産があれば、いくらでも有能なボディーガードを雇えるはず。なのになぜこの私に？
Because you need more friends and so does he. The professor quietly answered Salyu's question.
あなたに役目を与えたいのよ。
Oh, that's also a really good answer.
役目？
そう、役目。この役目は息子のためだけじゃない。
Oh.
あなたのためでもあるの。あなたも夏彦も心に欠けた部分がある。でもだからこそ共に補完し合えるはず。私は期待しているの。私が夏彦に与えられないものをユイが与えてくれることを。
She is successful in that.
私がユイに与えられないものを夏彦が与えてくれることを。
They both came to an understanding and learned something from each other, from their different perspectives.
よくわからない。
How Salyu approaches emotions, the emotions of others, and how Natsuhiko was treating the emotions of others, so to speak.
そうだね。でもいずれきっとわかるはずよ。この役目を果たした時、あなたの空洞は埋まるんだ。
Because then it won't be a role anymore. It'll be just family. The professor spoke with a smile. The professor spoke with a smile. Sally didn't understand the professor's true intentions, but that one word resonated strongly within her mind. A role, huh? She didn't understand why she was so fascinated by something as boring as bodyguard work. But Sally was aware that it was something she had longed for. I'm not confident I can do it, but I'll try my best. Sally stayed in a hotel on her first day in Rokame City. There she received an informative lecture on the usage of arms and various points of caution relating to her new life. Next morning, Dr. Tenkawa took her from the hotel to the school. The circumstances were unclear, but according to the professor, Rokame Academy was the only school that would admit Salyu. It's a little disheartening to stand in front of the school. Dr. Tenkawa had accompanied her all the way to the school gate. Sally was on her own from then on. I don't know if this will go well. As Sally nervously waited in front of the classroom, she was addressed by the homeroom teacher who greeted her earlier.
そうよ。それじゃ、三宮さん、入ってきて。
Sally fired herself up and entered the classroom as instructed.
はい。それじゃあ自己紹介してね。
三宮ルイーズユイ。
And thus, she somehow managed to handle the hurdle of introducing herself. But Sally was afraid of the crowd of students in the classroom. Yeah, that was the biggest learning curve in Natsuhiko's relationship with Salyu. Realizing that she wasn't just cold and emotionless, she's actually scared under all of this. Literally facing the world for the first time in her life. This is an entirely new experience for her. And once homeroom ended, you wouldn't download a social skills.
Hi, bonjour, Mademoiselle Louise.
Oh, Mashiro. An energetic girl called out to her. A sudden voice startled Salyu. It was Mashiro Toba. She said she wanted to be Salyu's friend. Really? I hope she's not plotting anything. Salyu sank into paranoia for a second before suddenly realizing something important. This girl seemed to be that friend of Natsuhiko's that the professor mentioned. Natsuhiko himself was nearby. In that case, Salyu thought it would be best for her to make friends with them. Once Salyu agreed to be their friend, Mashiro jumped for joy.
さて、なんて呼んだらいいかな。そうだ、サリュっていうのはどう？うん、別にそれでもいい。
Actually, it's a rather beautiful nickname. Salyu was pronounced like Salut. 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 Which was French for hi. A salutation. Beginning of communication. It's like an encouraging boost to my perseverance. I feel like my first contact with them went by pretty well, too. Sally was secretly full of joy, and thus began her new life. Day's lessons ended before she really had any good opportunities to have a nice and slow conversation with them. After the PRC field trip, Salyu had Dr. Tenkawa pick her up. She waited by the side of the building for a while, and eventually the professor's car approached and stopped.
Yui, お疲れ様。
あ、博士。
学園生活初日はどうだった？
うん。疲れたけど、夏彦と真白に接触できた。
Well, it's a start.
そう、予定通りね。仲良くなれた？
かなり。もう友達になった。
Suddenly, Arms cried anxiously.
博士は不安に思っている。なぜ？
いえ、気のせいよ。
Perhaps even Arms was capable of making a misjudgment. The professor didn't seem to have anything to be anxious about in any case.
ともかく、今日から我が家で寝泊まりすることになるわ。家に行きましょう。あの子もおそらく反対しないは
ず。承知した。
Once they had gone to the Tenkawa residence and reunited with Natsuhiko and Mashiro, Natsuhiko objected to Salyu moving in. That's strange. Nobody told me to expect this development. I thought we were already friends. I haven't even touched on the phantom subject. But the professor quickly departed, leaving the confused Salyu to her own devices.
私がこの家に住むと迷惑だとしたら話が違う。博士は夏彦たちは反対しないはずと言っていたのに。
Salyu twitched in fear when she saw that expression on Natsuhiko's face. Even someone like me can understand that expression. Natsuhiko was mad. Salyu had a feeling she knew to whom that anger was directed. It can't be. Am I? A nuisance? The thought saddened her. Happiness she had finally gained had suddenly withered. In a desperate effort to open her heart to Natsuhiko even just a little, she even tried talking to him about her role, but...
私はあなたを守るためにここへ来たというのに。
え？僕を守る？
Natsuhiko only stared blankly. He didn't seem happy at all. Really, he isn't accepting me. Why does he have to be so cruel to me? I've done nothing wrong. Sadly couldn't understand a thing that was on Natsuhiko's mind. I feel like his anger is more directed at his mom. Here. Thus, the first day of Salyu's new life came to an anxious end. She was wondering if things could get worse from there, but... Finally, the next day, things took a turn for the better. She went shopping with Natsuhiko and Mashino and opened her heart to them a little bit. After Natsuhiko asked her about how they had met, the scene of the accident 2 days prior, Salyu gathered the courage to tell them about her weakness.
実は私は他者の表情や感情の変化を察するのがとても苦手。
This is the second point of rejection that Yuri forced us to get over.
これがあってようやく人とまともにコミュニケートできる。
With that, she showed arms to Natsuhiko.
だから新しい生活に馴染めるか不安だった。だけどアームズがあればなんとかやっていけそう。
Yeah, the first point of failure happened after that first night. Second point of failure is right here.
そうだったのか。
Natsuhiko fell silent at Salyu's words for a few moments before timidly speaking up.
あのさ、サリュ。
何？
悪かったな。今まで態度悪く接しててさ。
And we pulled through. We got the Natsuhiko character growth. It was still an awkwardly stilted conversation, but it didn't feel unpleasant at all. Learn something. Key to good communication might be honesty. You should open up your heart and come into contact with others, even if they seem scary. That was an epiphany to Salyu. And that night, Mashiro threw a welcome party for Salyu.
はい、お待たせ。
Yep, we're definitely on the good character growth route. Because we got the Mashiro dinner.
おお。
素晴らしい。
The food was very delicious, but above all else, it was Mashiro's consideration that delighted Salyu. She's gentle and she doesn't hide behind a mask. Her speech and conduct match almost perfectly with Alice's judgment. Everything she says seems to be genuine. Even though Salyu couldn't understand the minds of others, she felt like she could believe Mashiro unconditionally. Afterwards, they all talked about novels and had a fun time. Once Mashiro went home, Salyu tried asking Natsuhiko a question.
今日はみんな楽しそうにしているように見えた。
そりゃもちろん。サリは楽しくなかったのか？
いや、私もすごく楽しかった。
When Salyu said that with a smile, Natsuhiko smiled back. Only days like this could continue forever. That's what Salyu wished. That peace did not last long. Next night, Natsuhiko and Mashino got into a fight, even though Salyu had thought they were getting along.
もう夏彦には頼らないよ。じゃあね。
On day 3 now.
おい、ちょっと待てよ、真城。
The next day. Oh, okay. Moving quicker now. Sally herself got into a fight with Natsuhiko.
真白の言葉を信じていないなら放っておけばいいのでは。
な、ちょっと冷たすぎじゃないか。そんなんじゃ友達できないぞ。
And that was too far from Natsuhiko. Those words gouged out Salyu's heart. That was cold. She had never expected one of her first ever friends to say that to her. But if I talked to him honestly, then maybe... Once she got that idea, Salyu talked once more about her peculiar trait, about the dysfunctional part of her brain. How as a result, she couldn't understand other people's feelings in the slightest.
日本に来て夏彦たちと出会い、楽しいこともあったけど混乱することも多く、時やっぱり他人と触れ合うべきではなかったのかもしれない。
Sally spoke on the verge of tears, but Natsuhiko replied in a subdued voice.
他人と触れ合うべきではなかったなんて、そんなこと言うなよ。確かに他人の気持ちなんて僕らにはわからないよ。僕やサリュに限った話じゃないんだ。誰だってそんなことわかるわけないんだよ。
私だけじゃなくてみんな同じなの？
そうだよ。だけどそれでも僕らは分かろうとする努力をするべきなんじゃないか。他人の心が分からなくても努力し続けるのが、つまりは人を思いやるってことで、それはきっと自分のためにも他人のためにもなることでさ。そう思わなきゃ誰にも優しくなれないじゃないか。
Those words reverberated in Salyu's mind. I see. Everyone's the same way. I'm just wasting my time worrying about it alone. Perhaps Natsuhiko has the same sort of worries I do inside. You overcame those worries to say all that. Is this what it means to sympathize with someone? At that time, Sally felt like she gained at least a slight understanding of Natsuhiko's incomprehensible, boyish mind. I need to respond by trying to sympathize with Natsuhiko too. Sally reconciled with Natsuhiko and the two of them decided to search for Mashiro together.
落ち着いて考えよう。真白を見つける方法を。
ああ。
They regrouped with Mashiro in front of the melancholic city gate. They searched for terrorists and trespassed into the PRC. As a result of a misunderstanding there, they became a target for the security department. Thus, they spent the night at a karaoke box. Salyu's life began to take a huge change. She couldn't recommend Natsuhiko and Mashiro stepping into danger, but in the corner of her mind, she enjoyed it. It's kind of like an adventure. Possibly contradict my role, but I think I might like this sort of thing. The adventure continued to the next day. After they encountered the PRC explosion, they realized that the enemy's real target was Lebo's nuclear reactor. They confronted the terrorists at the ruined factory. They suffered a temporary defeat, but once they woke up from being knocked out, the three kids talked. Natsuhiko decided to head to Lebo to prevent the terrorist plot. And so Salyu and Mashiro chose to cooperate with him as well.
ああ、もうどうしてそんなに二人とも分からずやなんだ。
夏彦に言われたくないよ。三人とも考えが一緒なだけだよ。
全く同感。
And then the kids smiled at each other. They eventually sorted out their story.
それじゃいいかい、二人とも。
了解。
うん。いつでも行けるよ。
行こう。この町を守りに。
Salyu nodded and broke off into a dash, alongside the two precious friends that fate had brought her to the city. That fate had brought to her in the city. Thus the three kids hurried to Lebo to stop the terrorist plot. By the time they got there, it was already too late. And I'm just curious if this is the part we've seen already. Not quite yet. at the very least it won't let me skip. They missed the window of opportunity to stop the terrorist plot by just a short amount of time. After they had descended to the basement floors of the blazing building, they searched for an exit and Dr. Tenkawa. But along the way, they ran into the terrorists.
Natsuhiko Mashiro, nigete!
Scene changed? Is this where we can skip? Sally promptly yelled, not yet.
Salyu! 私がここでこいつを倒す。一人はもう気絶しているから、1対1ならなんとかなる。
だったら僕も。
ダメ。夏彦たちじゃ足手まといにしかならない。人質に取られたら対処できない。夏彦たちはその間に出口を探して。
Salyu had judged that to be the most logical course of action. After Natsuhiko and Mashino had fled and Salyu had knocked down the two terrorists, a new terrorist appeared. Salyu immediately drop-kicked him, but the force of the impact merely shattered the enemy's faceplate. The third terrorist threw off his protection suit and spoke. Hi, Watase. He was the man who had knocked Salyu out last night in the ruined factory.
悪いことは言わん。さっさと逃げろ。早く逃げないと隔壁が閉ざされ、脱出不可能になるぞ。火星も激しさを増し、焼け死ぬかもしれん。どうやら子供の正義感で俺たちの計画を阻止しようと思っているみたいだな。自分の身を危険にさらしてまで俺と戦って何になる。
Now you mention it, what would be the purpose of fighting this man? That was already well beyond the scope of Salyu's role. Why am I going so far, too? Thoughts were interrupted by a gunshot. Oh no. Your arm felt like it was on fire. Crap. Salyu turned around in shock. She spotted one of the terrorists that she had flung away, pointing his gun at her.
バカ、何をやっている？子供に銃など。
お前こそ何やってるんだ。こんなところで孫ついてる暇はないだろう。
Terrorists started quarreling. Salyu took that opportunity to get out of there. Can't win against guns. I need a weapon of my own. That thought in mind, she searched for Natsuhiko and Mashiro. They found each other at opposite sides of a wrecked emergency staircase. Salyu spoke as the other two worried about her.
敵は体格、腕力に優れ、数も不明。
じゃあサリュー降りてきてくれ。一緒に逃げよう。
いや、この腕じゃここは降りられない。夏彦たちが上がってくるのも難しいと思う。だから別々に逃げよう。そんな、サリューは一人で大丈夫なの？大丈夫。でも根拠を話している時間はない。だから PC で。
Salyu said that, hoping that they would use empathy on her. He calmed down her mind and thought of the message she wanted to send them. I finally found life interesting for once. I don't want it to end like this. I truly enjoyed these past 6 days. These are my true feelings, what I've always wanted to tell you all. Even though Salyu was by no means an eloquent speaker, she was able to express herself honestly if she used pure emotions. I heard that they had received her message.
わかった。この二人のことは僕に任せろ。もう一度約束だ。全員生きて外で会おう。
必ず。
Those two being Mashiro and Yuri. On that note, Salyu left. Blood seeped endlessly from the wound on her upper arm. Charming music as we bleed out. My brachial veins. Oh, right. This is Salyu's theme. Yeah. My brachial veins damaged. I need to treat it immediately. Forgot about that. You set a trap along the connecting passageway to prevent the terrorists from chasing after. Oh, that was her doing. In the area at the end of the passageway, she acquired a security card, a disaster prevention manual, and finally, a stapler. Can do temporary first aid with this. Luckily, the bullet had pierced all the way through. Salyu took the stapler to the gunshot wound in her arm and stitched it up. She stifled her voice and treated the exit wound as well. She sank to the floor, breathing roughly. For now, she'd averted a medical emergency. Now what do I do from here? It's like Trauma Center. You staple it up and it's just all done. You get an OK on it, and you get a small amount of score. Terrorist's words echoed in her head.
悪いことは言わん。さっさと逃げろ。自分の身を危険にさらしてまで俺と戦って何になる。
She very well could do what he said and run away. If the terrorists' goal was to destroy the town in its entirety with a nuclear meltdown, then running away was pretty much pointless. Can't just run away. Don't prevent the meltdown. Don't stop them. The city would be destroyed. Atomic dust would rain on Natsuhiko, Mashino, Dr. Tenkawa, and everyone else. There's only one way to stop it. It won't run. What we need to do now is to not to run, but to fight. To defeat the terrorists and put an end to their plan.
夏彦たちを守るために、それが私の役目だから。
A faint smile rose to Salyu's lips. Courage welling in her heart, she began to walk once more. Oh. Natsuhiko and Yuri returned to reality.
ヒコリ、サリュちゃん、大丈夫？
Yuri's voice felt so far away. Yeah, that was... Hell, even the Labo part was way different. Natsuhiko just gritted his teeth without answering. Salyu had... toughest pass out of all of us. Now, this isn't a competition. Everything he saw in Salyu's memory wrenched Natsuhiko's heart, but you're not wrong. Right in front of him, Salyu cried.
知らない方がきっと幸せだった。
Correct, but
ごめん。
Natsuhiko regretted his decision. He should have followed Yuri's advice. Salyu quickly shook her head and continued speaking. Unfortunately, if we followed Yuri's advice, 3 people are going to die.
謝る必要はない。それでも何も知らないよりした方がきっといい。いろいろ考えるのはその後でいい。そうでしょ、夏彦。
Salyu smiled through her tears. Oh. Facial expression that closely resembled the one Dr. Tenkawa used in Salyu's memory.
私の人生が灰色だったとしても、この数日間の思い出は
You know what? We're gonna get out of here.
彩りに満ちていた。
We're gonna make it out of here, and then we're gonna have more color. We're gonna have tons of fun.
その思い出があれば、どんな過去にも耐えられるから。
She shut her eyes and murmured. Tears ran down her cheeks and fell to the floor. We're gonna have a lifetime's worth of fun. Natsuhiko could tell she was pushing herself. Seeing her shed tears for the first time was proof enough. Damn it, there's nothing I can do to support her. Give that girl a hug. Salyu said she wanted him to support her if he could. If there was anything he could do for her, that's it. I'll show her. My mind and heart. That was not an abuse of his ability. In fact, it was likely the right way to use it. That firm belief, Natsuhiko gently grasped Salyu's hand.
サリュ。
As Salyu's body stiffened, Natsuhiko gazed at her and sent her telepathy. Telepathy infused with his gratitude, affection, and all his feelings for her.
君と一緒に過ごした数日は僕にとっても大切な思い出になった。君に出会えてよかったよ。僕も君のおかげで少しだけ変われたんだ。だけど楽しいのはこの数日だけじゃないよ。これからきっとたくさんいいことがある。
Salyu said nothing. She just silently grasped Natsuhiko's hand back. Yuri laid her hand on top of theirs and spoke.
脱出しようね、みんなで。アシロンも一緒に4人であの家に帰ろう。
For real this time.
Hmm.
Salyu nodded, wiping her tears. Natsuhiko nodded and murmured.
あとは立花さんが戻れば脱出できるけど。
うん。でも外には保安ロッカーがいるかもしれない。
Just want to check something. Oh! Oh. Okay, we're talking to Miyoko now. You might already know this, but I've woken my BC ability. Tried using empathy again. No response.
母さんの助けが必要なんだよ。もし聞こえていたら、
We know that she
脱出に手を貸してくれ。
we know that she knew this time because we saw Sally's memory. You know what? Yeah, let's just take the ride through. Learning about Miyoko's plan. Miyoko was complicit in a lot of this. Oh, hi, Watase. Hi, Anna. Miyoko was complicit in this plan. Oh, God. Made it out. Making a plan. Oh, God. Everyone gets some telepathy. Here's a nice little recap. Planning our bomb disposal. There we go. Down we get. Time to defuse the bomb. We're gonna see when things change. We have to save Cosme first. Well, actually, we're gonna fail to save Cosme first. Oh, fuck. Okay, we're gonna skip through this. Actually, you know what? We'll relive this in fast forward. Because the moment when we realize we fucked up is pretty damn good. Also, the other thing about this Senses Sympathy segment is that we literally don't have to change Cosme's Senses Sympathy values once to purify our memories, because unbeknownst to us, there's a much deeper problem going on here. And that deeper problem is named Nagisa Tachibana. We start hearing voices, start seeing mirages. Nagisa has an even deeper impact on Cosme's mind because of the obvious relationship there. We stare into the abyss stares back! Motherfucker! Anyways, we're failing to defuse a bomb. Anyways, hi Cosme, oh fuck. And it's got a gun. Standoff time! There's an opportunity for a bad end here. Cosme would fall victim to amnesia. The moment that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, a voice echoed in his head again. Hmm? It was the telepathy Natsuhiko had sent 8 hours ago. Watase about Yuri. The message he had sent to Watase to make him save Yuri from the flames surrounding her. The information energy of that message had lingered, and now, once again, had returned to Natsuhiko. Oh! Those scenes where we picked up random bits of telepathy left over from past routes and shit. That's the result of us deep diving into the other's memories. So we got a whole bunch of others. Got a whole bunch of other bits of telepathy from deep diving into the others, but we didn't deep dive into Salyu, which is why we're only getting this now. This is to back up his decision. It was probably just a mere coincidence, but he still felt as if somebody were giving him that command. Gah. He looked around. It appeared that only Natsuhiko had heard that telepathy. I don't remember what the right choice is here. Oh shit. Back off Watase a bit. You don't have to tell me. There's only one thing I need to do. And thus Natsuhiko made up his mind.
Yuri.
Natsuhiko quickly grasped Yuri's hand and dove into Cosme's memories. Here we go. At that moment, Natsuhiko's thoughts were swallowed into darkness. You could tell his memories were falling apart before his eyes. Need to hurry. Got the window capture going, so I don't have to splice the video in this time. I have to erase her before she annihilates me. It's a battle that was only lasting for a mere second in real time. Despite that, the difference between their abilities soon became clear with the rate they were erasing memories. I don't think I'm going to make it. Natsuhiko was being erased faster than he was erasing her. A slight hesitation still remained within Natsuhiko. So it's holding back my full ability. Once he completed his thought, it was too late. A light flashed through his brain as he felt like something was ripping him to shreds. All of Natsuhiko's memories were quickly vanishing. He could also feel his personality fade away. Disappearing. Just then a memory of a girl most precious to him rose in the very nooks of his consciousness. And Yuri saves us. We get Kasumi's resolution. Now I have to make a choice. Now we're getting there. Oh god. Oh, this is new. We are saving the game here, son. This is... We didn't get everyone's sense of sympathy before. We're gonna get it this time. Each option was as difficult to choose as the next. Is there no other route to take? Somebody have to die. The fact that we're getting everyone's sense of sympathy for the first time is the clear flag that we have to max out everyone. It's almost time to make their decision. Time to decide who to cast away was imminent. Natsuhiko thought to himself, who do we cast away? Can't decide that. Couldn't come to a quick decision. I've seen everybody's memories. I've had a glimpse of everyone's lives. I've come to know the emotions they've had. He recalled the words he had heard in everyone's memories.
復讐を望むのは恥ずべきことか。
ヒコリンは私を助けてくれたから。だから私も待ってるよ。夏彦が戻ってくるの。
だから私は誰が何と言おうとラボの悪事を見過ごせません。
万人を幸せにする技術を開発するため一人の人間の幸福を奪うというのは許されることでしょうか。
You are absolutely right, Ukita, and I am so sorry for doubting you.
夏彦たちを守るために。それが私の使命だから。
You are my precious child, Salyu, and I'll protect you with my life.
要救助者助けて。そして必ず一緒に生きて出ようね。
Jordan, you're cool, and I hope you live your best life.
もし何かあっても私があなたを守りますから安心しなさい。
Cosme, you deserve a hug and a peaceful life.
私はヒコリンの時間を何度でも巻き戻すよ。
Yuri, you deserve a good life too.
俺はこの子たちを救いに来たんだ。
You'd better. Everyone had their own convictions. That was a conviction Watase had from the beginning, even if his passions were misguided into terrorism. Natsuhiko had learned that by seeing the particulars of their memories. That's why he couldn't choose. Even though he may have been able to cast someone away had he known nothing. But in that case, I want to keep searching to the very end. A route where nobody has to be cast away. Natsuhiko made his decision to stand up against despair.
もう誰も死なせない。9人全員で生き残る。
Hope. Here we go. True route. Everyone's eyes widened at Natsuhiko's declaration.
全員で生き残るだと。
ああ。
6 to survive, 3 had to stay behind. That was a premise that Natsuhiko did not want to accept.
誰かが犠牲になって誰かが救われるなんてそんな話はもううんざりなんだよ。
In the full version of this scene, they've compared that decision to the enough AD for 6 to survive and 3 to die. Back in the after route. Which is really just a point for me to segue into a question that I had. Who took the AD back then? Was that ever resolved? I don't know if it was ever resolved. Because it wasn't Watase from Natsuhiko's perspective. Who did that? Was it Ukita? Was it Jun? I don't think that was ever resolved.
何？
僕はな、渡瀬。ユーリが自分の人生を犠牲にすることで9年間平穏に生かされてきた。真っ白の献身で9年間幻想の中で生きる権利を得た。2人には本当に感謝している。誰かが犠牲になることを簡単に認めていいのか？
Natsuhiko spoke to the others as well.
この場にいるみんながそうだ。誰かの犠牲によって命や人生を救われた人ばかりだ。誰かの犠牲になって大切なものを失った人ばかりだ。そんなことを何度も繰り返していいのか？
Hey, well said. Everyone's faces froze at those words. Every individual in that room had lost something in the same way. However,
口で言うのは簡単だ。でもどうするってんだ。何か方法があるのか。
not a damn clue, bangs my fist.
ないさ。だけど僕が言ってるのは誰かを犠牲にすることを簡単に認めるなってことだ。
Welcome back to No One Has to Die.
自分が犠牲になることも同じだ。命を諦めちゃダメだ。渡さんも言ってただろ。最後の最後まであがけって。諦めるのはその後でいい。違うか？どんな状況でも生き抜こうとするのが人の本能ってものだろ。誰も犠牲にしないでみんなで共に生きていこうとするのが人間の理性ってものだろ。この場にいるみんなが生きたいと思ってるんだ。だったら全員で生き抜こうとするのが当たり前じゃないか。
Even if it were an idealistic thought detached from reality, even if it were nothing more than an impossible delusion, that was what Natsuhiko desired. Suddenly remembered. He remembered all the unsightly sides of humans he had seen today. Watase, whose mind had been ruled by hatred. Jun, who tried to harm others in the name of justice. Ukita, who doubted the comrades who shared his will. Anna, who opened her heart to no one. Cosme, who tried to take the life of the one she loved under the pretext of protecting him. Just a bit of roleplay, nothing to see here. Every one of them had held dangerous weapons. Every one of them was frightening. Once again, everybody had become unable to fully trust one another. Humans are terrifying. That smile is still terrifying. I just realized her hand in that picture is bent at an unnatural angle. Humans are breakers of despair. It's a result of the sort of vision distorting there, but still, that's an unnatural angle. I don't like it. That's what he had once thought. Beyond those sides of humans, he had seen many beautiful, precious sides to them too. That was the bubble he was living in. Not that humans were sort of inherently troublesome, and so he kept to himself and didn't stick his nose into places that would get him in trouble. He just lived his quiet little life. Now that he's seen the good in the world, sort of reawakened his old self. There, Natsuhiko saw the light. Even in the deepest depths of despair, people were able to hold the will to survive. People could rush to save others, even at the risk of their own lives. Even in the darkness of doubt and malice, people could believe. People could love. That itself was hope. To find an escape route from any deadly situation and to move on forward down that route, hand in hand with those next to you. Humans weren't meant to choose despair. The side of humanity that strives with the will to survive, that itself is hope. That's what Natsuhiko had learned from everybody. He didn't want a single one of them to die.
なあ、もう一度考えよう。 当に何も方法はないのか？
Welcome back to the final chapter of Route Double, where Natsuhiko discovers the true meaning of hope and in such becomes a Danganronpa protagonist.
みんなここまで諦めずに頑張ってきたじゃないか。そんなに諦めがいいメンバーだったらとっくに誰か死んでるはずだろ。諦めが悪いのが僕たちだろ。
Everyone fell silent at Natsuhiko's words. Deep silence filled the control room. Eventually, the silence was torn apart by Yuri's voice.
考えましょう皆さん。きっとどこかに何か方法が何もなかったとしても最後のタイムリミットギリギリまで諦めずに考えなきゃダメです。私たちずっとそうしてきたでしょ。行く手は毒ガスに覆われてて後ろからは炎が迫ってて絶体絶命って状況でも私たちは生き延びたじゃないですか。
Hell yeah, Yuri.
私と隊長さんが瓦礫の下敷きになった時も見捨てずにいてくれたじゃないですか。
Hell no, you worked together to get us out from under the rubble.
私死にたくないです。誰かを犠牲にしたくもないです。それが私の本当の気持ちです。
That was perhaps the first time Natsuhiko had heard Yuri shout so seriously. She'd always smiled quietly. She'd always cowered in fear. She'd always been thinking of others. It was the one and only time she acted selfish. Will resounded in everyone's hearts. Best friends smiled in relief.
そうだよユーリ。私だってそうだよ。私も同意。まあその方がレスキュー隊らしいしね。
しかしどうする本当に。隔壁が空いている30秒の間に全力で走って脱出するかね。
それは無理よ。怪我人もいるのよ。地上に続く非常階段は第2エリアにしかありません。ここから走っても間に合わないでしょう。
Time passed even as they held this discussion. Look at the watch revealed that the time was 6:07 p.m., 10 minutes until detonation. Think, is there no other way? He recalled everything they had seen and heard. Natsuhiko's memories, Watase's memories, Yuri's, Mashito's, Salyu's, Kazumi's, Jun's, and Izukita's memories. Nothing came to mind. Time was 6:08 p.m., 9 minutes. Come on, don't give up. Think, there just gotta be a way. He recalled everything that happened today. Natsuhiko's and Watase's confrontation in Area N, how he shattered Watase's memories. How after Watase woke up, everyone searched for a route to survival. But even when he was threatened by malice-infested people, he still tried to save everyone and sought that escape route. Things were crazy back then, but this time, for sure, we'll find an escape route. For every moment that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he had to support his will. Everyone's eyes widened. Oh? They all stared at Watase.
今隊長何か言いましたか？
しかもテレパシーで。
That was indeed Watase's voice, but it somehow didn't seem to come from his voice box.
渡瀬、まさかお前まで BC に目覚めたのか？
What? No, God no.
違う、俺じゃない。俺は適正度なんかないし、使おうとも思ってない。第一、俺自身の頭にも響いた。俺のテレパシーのわけないだろ。
じゃあ今のは一体。
It was the plot. An illusion, an auditory hallucination. As soon as those questions passed Natsuhiko's mind, the voice echoed once more.
エンジンルームに行った時、天井近くを太いパイプが走っていたのに気づいた。
It wasn't an illusion, nor an auditory hallucination. Everyone certainly heard that voice. A something that was neither Watase's voice nor his telepathy.
もしあれがダミーで、あそこから脱出できるなら。
As the voice continued, Natsuhiko remembered. It's from back then. That's what Watase said 3 hours ago, when he tried to escape through the drainage pipe. Watase seemed to make the same realization, for he murmured dumbfoundedly.
なんだ、何が起きてる。なんで俺の過去の声が今さら聞こえるんだ。
まさかまた残留していた情報エネルギーが戻ってきたの？でも隊長さんは BC を使ってないはず。 そんな現象起こりえないよ。
いや
It came out of my memories. True, Watase wasn't using BC back then, but Natsuhiko was. He had been continuously using Senses Sympathy on Watase. Our brains were connected via BC particles. The thing Watase experienced had propagated back to me. So in other words, that means the trace information energy emitted from Watase's mind drifted through the space between him and Natsuhiko. Due to the particle amplifier, the energy was amplified and lingered there without dissipating. It's only coming back now? The moment he made that realization, sights of the past flickered before his eyes.
やはり脱出口はここしかない。
ではクリアしなければならない問題は3つ。1、どうやってパイプに穴を開けるか。何これ。
消火器の中に爆弾が仕込まれてたのか。
2、どうやって水で満たされたパイプ内で呼吸を確保するか。
隊長、何かあった？
酸素吸入器の輸血キットは使い道がありそうだな。
3、どうやって53度の熱水に耐え500メートル離れた6メーコまで到達するか。水流を止めた上で水が冷えるのを待ちましょうか。
良さそうだが時間がかかりそうだな。
取水パイプを破壊したらこのラボ自体が水没してしまいます。ラボ自体が水没してしまいます。どうかご注意を。
Before the bomb? Those sights flowed back before his eyes like a muddy stream, and then disappeared. I feel like escape is still a foolhardy option, but flooding Labo, however.
今の
They exchanged glances. There's something clearly strange about that phenomenon.
これ残留していた情報エネルギーがただ戻ってきたのと違う気がする。
Now that's an advanced form of BC we call plot energy. Actually, it wasn't a simple reminiscence, it was fragmentary sights and words. That collection of fragments seemed to hold some sort of meaning.
ひょっとしてさっきの情報の中に脱出方法が？
みんな考えろ。今起きたことの意味を探るんだ。
The nine of them pondered. What was the meaning hidden within those flickering sights?
最初に聞こえた声はパイプだよだったね。
ではやはりあそこから脱出するべきなのか。
しかしそれは我々が3時間前に試して失敗したんですよ。だったらどうすればいいの？
Flawed Labo.
穴を開ける方法、呼吸の確保、熱水、取水パイプ。その中に脱出方法が。
脱出法が
It was just a mess of ambiguous, fragmentary information. But indeed, hidden within, there was an answer. Natsuhiko abruptly gasped. At the same time, everyone's eyes widened. It seemed everyone reached the answer at the same time.
そうかこの方法が
They found the one, final route remaining. A route where everyone's survival was possible. That's it. That has to be it. His heartbeat sped up. His temples went numb. The hope they finally found at the last moment. They exchanged glances and shouted it.
みんな手順はこうだ。
まずブレインセルをハッキングして6人を外に逃がす。
そして地下に残った3人はあの場所から脱出しましょう。了解。わかったわ。
Everyone understood without anyone having to say the particulars. At that moment, 9 minds became one in perfect unison.
でもどのみち3人は地下に残らなきゃなりません。誰が残るのが最善かな？
Most people were going through the pipe. Natsuhiko, Yuri, and Watase all answered at the same time.
僕たちが残ります。
Oh, okay.
保安ロッカーの人たちは私とヒコリンに目をつけてる。今外に出るとむしろ危険です。
Correct.
はあ、お前たち6人が逃げた後は俺が夏彦とユーリを責任を持って脱出させる。
Oh wow, we really are ending this the way we started it. The six nodded at the three's proposal.
では私たちは隔壁が開いたら安全なところまで退避する。 レスキューヘリにでも乗っちゃえば保安課も手出しできないしね。
では脱出後我々は君たちを迎えに行く。そして外で合流しよう。
そして9人が揃ったら超過局の本部まで移動しましょう。そうすれば追跡も受けないわ。
Plan fell into place all at once. Mashiro and Salyu looked at Natsuhiko and Yuri and spoke.
心配だけどこれしか方法はないんだよね。そう分かっていても辛い。
大丈夫だよ、大丈夫。
マシロ、サルちゃん、必ず外で会えるから約束だよ。
Then Cosby and the others spoke to Watase.
隊長、2人のことをお願いします。
しっかりね、隊長。隊長なら必ずできるはずだから。
もし死んだり死なせたりしたら絶対に許さないわよ。
僕が言える立場ではないが頼む、隊長さん。
ああ、分かってるさ。それが俺の使命だからな。
There was no need for any other words. This was not a final farewell. Everyone believed they'd live to see each other again.
時間がない。始めましょう、皆さん。
今から1分後にブレインセルをハッキングし核壁を開ける。
それまでに核壁の前に行って核壁が開くと同時に脱出してください。ああ。
With those words, everyone raised their voices in unison. And here we go. We're going to save the final escape for next video and see how this goes. Until next time, until then, we're almost there.